everybody? It's your boy King Crowder, back again with another lesson, again, of history you may not know, and history that is not taught in detail all the time. Today's lesson will be focused on the lakes of America. Today's topics will be focused on the deep, dark history of a lot of the lakes that were made primarily in the southern part of the United States. A little geography for a second, something simple. All lakes are fresh water. A lot of them are man-made. I want to take a snapshot of a lot of the lakes inside the United States history. Most people do not know that lakes and all of our findings come from a tragedy or a tragic situation. For example, Lake Martin history was built on a majority black town called Caligula near this town was near Alabama. What happened is during that 1910-1920 period is that the town of Alabama had a huge riot going on where a lot of the blacks were killed, murdered, burned, and to burn the town, they just flooded it. So I want you to think about this for a second. This was formerly a town where people lived. The people in this town had a race riot and a battle going on with each other. Instead of them facing their times for their crimes, cleaning up behind each other, they literally just put water in the town, flooded it, and the lake is over it until this day. The reason why that's such a crazy and scary history is that people still swim and go on these side of towns until this day. Most do not know the history and how lakes were created in this country. Another reason why there's another part of history that we hear, and we hear about the spooky side of it all the time, is Lake Lanier in Georgia. Lake Lanier has a history going back to 1912 when two black teenagers tried to sexually assault a young white lady. This rumor went around in the community and a mob was formed. The mob was formed, and after they found out who the teenagers were, their families, parents, and all of their relatives were shot and burned. If you know anything about how mob killings and lynchings went on around that day, it was sort of a ceremonial activity. So as they burned each other, they burned the town and they just flooded it. Lake Lanier was actually formed because of a essay happening around this time, and we saw people, literally homes and families, being flooded. The whole town was flooded. Tons of people have passed away. There was not an accurate number of family members that were completely gone due to the Lake Lanier tragedy. And to this day, you hear about the haunted and often drownings in Lake Lanier that happens in Georgia very often. It is said that the actual people that live in there have some type of spiritual realm going on with people that swim in that lake at night, because the peace in their bones and how they live has not been laid to rest. All of the people in these crimes we learned throughout the history have faced some sort of things that have happened to make them be displaced. There's another town in Alabama where the racial issues were strong, and we also saw economic strongship. Literally, we saw this cycle rinse, repeated, and done over again, how lakes have been repeated over and over. These histories have never been discussed, especially primarily in history classes. I think it's important to discuss how these lakes were formed, because virtually every sign of our history of the United States being discussed has a racial bias included. It has a hate crime, it has a killing, a murdering, a stabbing, and a brutality against someone else. The reason why I think this history is so important to study, we must learn from our pitfalls of what's happening. If you look at it from a current snapshot, you can see why our violent nature is always there. Why? We never teach, train, or show what to watch out for. So no one sees the patterns. We go to these same sites and go to these same things without an honest conversation about it. Lakes in America, a lot of them have a deep, dark, scary past, something eerie to read about, study about, and even look for one in your town. You may not know, it may have formerly been a black town that was flooded and the people were displaced. It's your boy King Crowder checking back out again with another history we may not know of the United States. I think these lessons are important for us to read, refocus, and think about. Why? Because this information is pivotal and we all should be learning it. Keep going strong. Thankful for everybody that's commenting in. Hopefully you enjoy the channel and the content. Hopefully this information gets back to you and you begin to learn the stronghold understand. Peace.